Paddy Power are gearing up for Cheltenham and offering non-runner money back on all races at the Cheltenham 2018 Festival. Paddy Power, you beauty! Applies from midday on January the 9th. T's and C's apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome to this Cheltenham Anti-Post Postcast. This week we're covering the Queen Mother Champion Chase. I'm Maddie Plough and I'm joined by Longshot Ted, Ed Quigley. We've got Rob Catterson and Patrick Mullins on the line as well. Altior, now when he won the Arkle, it wasn't his most impressive performance. A lot of people said Charbel, if he would have stood up, he would have been quite close to him. Do you think he just would have gone on again if that would have happened, or what was your analysis of his run in the Arkle?
Yeah, I mean, if you look on RPRs as well, it wasn't his most sparkling performance, but he got the job done. And I think Nico de Boinville, I haven't got the exact quote in front of me, but said he wasn't quite himself, or words to that effect on the day, but his class saw him home. And yeah, it is very true what you say. Charbel was in the process of giving at least something to think about over fences, which not many horses managed to achieve last season. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's just an imponderable question, isn't it, really? But there's a good chance we will see Altior against Politolog in the game spirit. Possibly Fox Norton as well. If that's the case, that's really going to sort out and shuffle the pack, isn't it, in regards to the Champion Chase picture? And we'll know a lot more after that. But yeah, I mean, a peak form Altior is the horse they've all got to beat, but we don't know if he still can produce that peak form is the key point. Yeah,
exactly. Patrick, we'll come to you next, but before I ask you about Altior, you're back in the Curragh Cafe that you were in last time. Extra bacon. Can you just tell us quickly which horse you were riding out this morning and anything you can tell us to note about him?
We had a few horses up here in the Curragh, so I rode Sage Jersey, who won in Punchestown last year, and he's entered up with fences at the weekend. So he went well, and hopefully we'll get him out belatedly, but get him out this weekend hopefully, and he can. He looks like a horse that'll do better over fences. He's a big, strong French horse, so looking forward to that now.
Okay, brilliant. And what's your take on Altior? Obviously, it's not been a great preparation, but do you think if Nicky gets him there, he should be the one to beat?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's obviously a tremendous horse. Nicky has had a lot of success with wind-ups, Sprinter Sacra most notably. I think with a horse like that and with a trainer like Nicky Henderson, even if he doesn't run in the game spirit, if he goes straight to Cheltenham, I think nowadays you can probably have horses fairly 100% between racecourse gallops and everything. I think probably the wind operation is, if it might be worse if he's coming off a tendon or something like that. But I think the wind operation, they've had such previous success with them. If he turns up on the day, he's probably the one to beat.
Okay, and what are your thoughts on the fact that we're now publicising wind-ups? You got any strong opinions on that at all?
It doesn't bother me. I don't see the harm in it, and if it helps some people, yep, why not?
Okay. And Rob, anything to add on that? Have you got any specials or any Nicky Henderson things that Altior could be involved in?
Yeah, obviously the race depends on Altior, but I suppose it depends on what Willie runs as well. And with doubts over so many, it's a race the English could dominate. Did a 1-2-3 in 2014, and we're 10-1 that it happens again. We're 5-4 that Willie wins it for the first time, and obviously Nicky's got the favourite at the moment for the Champion Hurdle, the Champion Chase and the Gold Cup, and we're still 125-1 that he manages to win the Big Four, which looks overpriced given the current markets.
Okay, now we're going to talk about Altior's main rivals. Let's stick to the British ones for now. Now, I know, Ted, you're very keen on Politolog. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, really, talking about so many ifs and buts about so many of these horses, you've got a horse in front of you who's got 4 legs, who's jumping for fun, who's taking his form to a new level, and it's been winning Grade 1s. Look, it is a real head scratcher of a race, because you do get that feeling if the likes of Altior's or even the Duvans clearly come back to their best and line up, Politolog's probably going to start twice the price he is now. However, he is the horse with the form this season. And we're all scratching around looking for alternatives, and he is the one who's actually doing it on the track. And I mean, as a counterpoint, I do take the argument Politolog has never really produced his best form at Cheltenham. But I personally, for someone who does love a bit of kind of horses for courses syndrome, I do think that's a little bit of a red herring because you're basing that assumption on his form over 2.5 miles. To my mind, I watched a replay of the Coral Cup the other night. He tanked round and didn't get home. In the JLT last year, he was really fizzy in the paddock. Sam Twister tried to hold on to him over 2.5 miles. I think over 2.5, you're not seeing the best of him. What that does, it takes away his greatest asset, which is his jumping and his ability to go at pace over 2 miles. And so, yeah, I'm keen on Politolog, but as I said, the whole picture is very muddied and it's a lot of ifs and whats, and it's very hard from an anti-post perspective, because if you take the view Politolog meets Altior, loses to Altior, then he's going to drift markedly. So it's a funny old race, but I do think Politolog is perhaps being sneered at a little bit because of his previous failures at Cheltenham, when he is the horse who is doing it on the track this season. And
Paul Nicholls is a master trainer. He did a similar sort of thing with Dodging Bullocks, I guess you could say.
Yeah, in a way, very similar. I think. I mean, Dodgy Bullets was pretty tough and had some good form at Cheltenham going into it, whereas I think Politolog's different. Politolog's a better jumper. His standout asset is his jumping. The way he went round Sandown, he was taking lengths out of his opposition, including Fox Norton at his fences. So if he can get in a rhythm up tops towards the head of affairs at Cheltenham, he could have a few of these in trouble. He's clearly a horse who stays. He has one over further. So he's, as Paul Nicholls says, he's a slick jumping but staying 2-miler, if you like. And yeah, I think he ticks a lot of the boxes.
Yeah, he does indeed. Patrick, what do you make of Politolog, what he's achieved this season? And the likes of Fox Norton, obviously he wasn't at his best when he was pulled up in the King George last time. I think they said he was a bit sore after that. But what do you see as their main assets?
Well, Politolog is obviously improving all the time. I think he's unbeaten over 2 miles over fences. Like Ed was saying, probably just stretching him out to 2.5 when he got beaten by waiting patiently, and then got beaten in JLT last year, which has turned out to be a fantastic race. The form of that race between Disco and Top Notch and York Hill, probably the best novice race with strength and depth last year. Look, he's the one who's been doing it this year, as Ed was saying, and to be honest, I think if we got York Hill or if we got Duvan there, you'd like to think that they probably have more natural talent than him. But a lot of the time, just be getting there and jumping around is half the battle. So yeah, he would have to be taken very seriously. Fox Norton obviously has his last run. He just draw a line through it, but for me, he couldn't win it last year. So I don't see why he's going to win it this year. Now, Special Tiara is a very admirable horse. He's a horse, I love watching him run. He's very exciting. But he got beaten in 2 champion chases, and then suddenly he wins last year. So to me, that just says Fox Norton is just maybe that small bit below what's needed to win a champion chase. Now, he might be a Ryanair horse possibly, but I'd be more worried about Politolog because he's a horse on the up and improving. Okay,
yeah, well said. Rob, anything to add?
No, pretty much just what the lad said, with doubts over so many. I suppose if we were having a bet now, Politolog would be the one. He's probably not the best horse in the race, but he's probably been the most consistent so far.
Okay, and we're going to talk about Duvan now, Patrick, because obviously he's not been quite right, but you gave him the entry in this race. He suggested that he's sort of coming back into some sort of form at home. What chance do you give him of getting there on the day, and what stage are you at with him now? What's he up to?
He's well. We had the launch at the Dublin Racing Festival when all the media were down, and he was out. He rode out that lot, so everyone saw him riding. And Holly Conte, who rides him out, he's very happy with him. He did a sparkling bit of work just before the Tingle Creek, and we just weren't 100% happy with him afterwards. And the vets looked at him, and maybe about 10 days after that, the vets looked at him, and as my father said at the time, we were being overly cautious. It was something very small, and we thought we were going to up stumps for the season. And then the next time the vets came back with a slightly different opinion. They said that he's recuperating very well, and we're just taking it day by day. I mean, look, if there's any hint that he's not 100%, we'll pull up stumps and we'll wait till next season. With a horse like this, there's no point taking any chances. But day by day, we're taking it, and so far so good. So the next couple of weeks are going to be vital, you know.
What was the problem? Was it something to do with his pelvis or niggly problems or anything that's resurfaced before?
No, it's nothing to do with his pelvis from last year, which is good. Like I said, it's a very small problem, and our, we're probably being overcautious.
Yeah.
But when you have a horse like this, you just don't like taking chances, you know.
Yeah, totally. Now, Ed, what's your thoughts on Douvan? Obviously, last year he didn't run his race; he was injured. But before that, people were talking about him as if nothing could ever beat him.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, Patrick has a much better insight into Douvan than I do. It'd just be great to see him back, wouldn't it? That's the main thing. And it'd be Willie's obviously a master trainer. It'd be some training performance if you can get him to come back from his injuries first time out in a champion chase and beat the likes of Altior and Plitzlau first time out. But look, as I said, Patrick knows more than me. I just think it'd be great to see him back. And my mind, you're going to ask me, is he a betting proposition? No, not at all, really. Not from the way I see it. But look, we all want to see the great horses taking each other on. Just fingers crossed his recovery speeds up. Although having back Plitzlau, to be honest with you, Patrick, I'd be quite happy if he misses the contest altogether. But he's clearly a great horse, and it'd be good to see him back.
Okay, fantastic. And Rob, am I right in thinking you've got York Hill and Douvan both to run, priced up at 6-1 as one of your specials for this race?
We do, yeah, and we're pretty much guessing. Obviously, York Hill is fit and well, and Willie's indicated that this might be the race. And I suppose if Douvan was to get there, this would probably be the only race. So you're taking a bit of a chance, and we're sort of guessing, but it is possible. And if they both got the Cheltenham fit and well, this would look the obvious target.
Okay, now we'll move on to York Hill now because he is a bit of an enigma, but he's got so much talent. As Patrick mentioned, he won that JLT last year. That form's worked out fantastically. Things didn't go to plan on reappearance in that Christmas chase, Patrick. He was putting up a bold sight for a lot of the way. What was your personal thoughts on that run?
He was just too exuberant. He can be quite a free-going horse. We went to drop him out, obviously, because he's got plenty of speed, winning, he's won over 2.5 in Cheltenham twice. But the one thing I took out of the race, positive anyway, was how he jumped the first 5 fences. I mean, he made 2 lengths at every fence, and he ended up in front kind of because of that. But, in a 3-mile chase, you can't make up kind of 10 or 12 lengths in the first half mile and still finish. Now, a few of our horses during Christmas ran below par as well, so you have to wonder, maybe he just wasn't at his best either. But he's not an easy ride, and bearing that in mind and seeing what we saw at Christmas, when he decided to come back in trip. If you look at his 2 novice wins in Cheltenham, he's travelled so powerfully twice. I mean, the time when he won the novice hurdle, when he come to the inside of Janwert, it was like he just jumped in. And especially in the JLT as well, Politlog and Top Notch aren't slow horses, and yet 2 down, there's only 1 winner. So coming back in trip, while his pedigree suggests it's the wrong thing to do, the mindset that the horse has and the ability he seems to have, we're going to try it. So he's entered in Leopardstown next month, and it's possible he could go there. And like I said, he doesn't have a huge amount of experience for 2-mile chasing, but the way he jumped the first 5 or 6 fences in the old Lexus chase would give you some positivity towards it,
Okay, and you talk about this raw speed that he's got, and obviously he did win that Neptune sort of pulling double. Was the champion hurdle ever considered? I mean, you've got Mellon and Faheen obviously in there pitching for that, but a lot of people would give him a pretty good shout in the champion hurdle.
Yes, without doubt. And look, he's all options are open. Should something go amiss in Leopardstown, that's still another option. The champion hurdle. Bouvardaire did it last year. Obviously, he probably would have came back at an earlier time in the season, but it's not impossible. And I think his Neptune win showed he probably has the ability for champion hurdle. So at the moment, we're looking at champion chase, but options are still open at this stage. We still have another run to go.
Yeah, well, it's testament to him. At the start of the season, Ted, we were talking about any championship race that he could have gone in and won. He's just crazy talented. Do you think if he turned up, as we say, and he was in his best form against Altior, do you think he would beat him?
Well, he'd have a cracking chance. I think Yorkhill's got a brilliant chance in this race. You know, you can't be snobby about a horse who's running 2 Grade 1s at the Cheltenham Festival and won them pretty much of ease, I think, to be honest with you. Yeah, as Patrick says, he's bred to get nearer 9 miles than his 2 miles, but he just races so exuberantly, and he's clearly got a lot of gears that I think, be it a champion hurdle or a champion chase, 2 miles or a stiff 2 at Cheltenham, wouldn't it be any problem? We know he handles spring ground. Some Irish horses often have that question over whether they can replicate what they show in the the dark depths of the Irish winter, and can they do it on a sunny day at Cheltenham in March? And he clearly can. And yeah, look, again, a lot of question marks about him in the sense he was going into the unknown in many respects, but as regards to Cheltenham, he has a good profile, and he often brings his A game to the Cheltenham Festival. So no, if Yorkhill lines up in a champion chase, providing everything goes well with him at Leopardstown, yeah, he's a serious player. You've got to take it very seriously.
Yeah, in the early days, he gained a reputation as a bit of a dodgy jumper because he was so exuberant, and a lot of people think he's a bit quirky, but he seems to have quashed that these days, doesn't he? I mean, as Patrick said, he was brilliant at Leopardstown.
Yeah, he was for the vast majority of the race until he got a bit tired, and I do think going left-handed does help him as well. And look, yeah, we'll see. I mean, one very, very quick point I wanted to say in regards to the ground, where we know Yorkhill definitely acts on spring ground. As Politolog, my biggest doubt about him wouldn't be necessarily his previous form at Cheltenham, would be if the ground was too quick. I think it's been echoed before in the past. So in regards to Yorkhill, there's no fears in that sense. And look, I think 2 miles, fences or hurdles, but yeah, Yorkhill, whatever he turns up in at Cheltenham, he's going to be a serious candidate.
OK, we'll just go for this short advert now, and then we'll quiz Patrick about the rest of the Mullins team.
Paddy Power are gearing up for Cheltenham and offering non-runner money back on all races at the Cheltenham 2018 Festival. Paddy Power, you beauty! Applies from midday on January the 9th. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
OK, welcome back to this Cheltenham Anti-Post Postcast. We're talking about all things Queen Mother Champion Chase, and we've got Patrick Mullins here, so we're going to make the best use of him as we can. Now, Patrick, I mentioned at the top of the show that you've got so many horses. As we say, it's a long way away that could be in this race. Min, Undersow and Greatfield, just 3. Shall we start off with Undersow and say, I think what we're all thinking is it would have to be soft ground for him to turn up in a champion chase, or is it definitely the Ryanair for him? He was brilliant at Ascot, wasn't he?
He was, I mean, he must be the most consistent horse in training. When you look at his form figures, they're extraordinary. And I think, as my father said, he's an absolute iron horse. He's 10 now, and he hasn't missed. He hasn't missed any of the big festivals. He's been racing at the top level there for a long time. And I think my father probably just deserves a lot of credit for resisting temptation to run him in the champion hurdle as a young horse, because that might just have blown his head. Whereas you saw how well he settled the other day.
Yeah.
He's, I think in a long-term view that was a good decision. But yeah, look, he had his goal in the champion chase. Now he ran into Sprinter Sacra, who's one of the all-time greats, and obviously he beat Special Tiara, who went on to win a champion chase another year. But I think the Ryanair looks his race at this stage. He's not getting any quicker. He's 10 years old now, so probably dropping back to 2 miles unless it's somehow turned up heavy, which is very unlikely. The Ryanair would look the obvious choice for him.
OK, he must be such a great horse to have around. Now, Min, of course, Simply Ned was given the race that he raced in last time. I don't think he was at his best there. What was your opinion on that run?
I don't think he was at his best, no. He ran quite keen early on. The Giggleston horseman, the blinkers, took him on, and they went down to the first 2 fences. Probably about 3 furlongs, they just went hell for leather. And then when the Tellis Moore made a mistake, the second he was left on his own, but he still probably jumped quite exuberantly down the back. I thought he put in 3 or 4 ginormous leaps, which might just have taken a bit out of him. Now, even allowing for that, he was still below what we expected. But again, a few of ours maybe just didn't run to their very best at Christmas. And it was tight there at the finish, but even if he kept the race, it wouldn't have been the sort of performance we were hoping for. So to me, I'd allow him that one below par run for the first one of his life, being second in Grade 1. But again, he'll probably go to Leopardstown next month, and I'd be expecting to see a much improved performance.
Okay. And which target are you looking likely for him at this stage? Would it be the Champion Chase or would it be more the Ryanair? As you said, he is keen, but equally he's won over a little bit further than 2 miles. So, he's one where you've got your options open.
Yeah, I mean, obviously next month is going to, his next run there in Leopardstown will tell us a lot more. But looking at how he races, I imagine the Champion Chase will be at the moment, unless something happens, probably next month in Leopardstown. I'd imagine the race that suits him at the moment, the way he jumps and how keen he is, Champion Chase probably.
Okay, this is turning into Patrick Mullins' 21 questions. Finally, Patrick, great field. He's back in work now. He's such an exciting horse for you.
He is. He's a bit of a nut job. Dick Dowling, our head man, looks after him. I looks after him actually as well. But he's back riding, and whether he'll make Cheltenham, I don't know. But we're a bit like Duvan. We're just taking it day by day. We'll keep stepping him up, and if he doesn't make Cheltenham, it's not the end of the world. There's great prize money and racing in Aintree and in Punchdown and in Ottoy as well. So hopefully we should have him back before the end of the season anyway.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a bit of a tricky question here, but let's say all of yours turned up in this race, which I think wouldn't happen. Which one would you most like to ride in the Champion Chase?
That's an easy question.
Well, Duvan would be Duvan. Duvan, I think, is the one. I think he's very special, and I was lucky enough to get to sit on him one day in Leopardstown, and I've never felt anything quite like it. So I really hope we can get him back, because I don't think his race record does justice to the ability he has at the moment.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thanks very much. And Ted, what do you reckon of Min under So? Great field. Who's likely to turn up in your opinion? And who would you think is the biggest threat to
out of those? It'd have to be Min, purely because, as Patrick says, sounds like great field. Probably unlikely to make the gig, at least 50-50. Under So, I can't see running unless St Conor Monsoons move in over the Presby Park area. And Min looks the 2 mile. He was very keen through the early part of his race last time out, and his form over fences probably doesn't match up. Well, it doesn't match up to the likes of what Altior and company and even Politolog have achieved this season, but there's still time for him to improve, and he is still lightly raced, isn't he? So out of those you mentioned, Min I'd see as I personally think Min will be the one that runs out of those three. I think it's very unlikely under So Great Field will be in a Champion Chase. Okay,
and Rob, your thoughts on those three?
Yeah, pretty much so. I suppose that race at the Dublin Racing Festival, if Min and York Hill were to go to head-to-head, that it's going to have a huge bearing on the betting. I'd forgive Min the last day. You got to remember it was the second run as well after being injured. He'd won in Goran, and then obviously this was the second run. It could have been the bounce factor.
That mysterious bounce factor we mentioned last week.
Yeah. So you just don't know what the reason was, but he wasn't at his best, and I think we'd see a different Min at Cheltenham. You got to remember he's by walking the park as well, so he'll be a lot better on good ground. And this looks his race. So, but this race in Leopardstown in a couple of weeks will be fascinating if himself and York Hill went head to head. I wouldn't envy Paul Townend picking which one he'd have to ride.
Yeah, okay, fair play. Now we're going to discuss the rest of the Irish Challenge here. We've mentioned Special Tiara a bit already, but I think perhaps he's not got the credit he deserves. I mean, he's such an incredible horse to watch, and yes, he only won narrowly last year, and as we've said in regards to some of the others, he's not getting any younger, but he's a magnificent horse, isn't he, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, he's a credit to connections, isn't he? And he's a horse who just comes alive on spring ground and at Cheltenham. He's remarkably consistent, as his Cheltenham Festival record would testify. But if you ask me, can he win it? I'd say no, even given the doubts of the others. I mean, Father the Time waits for no man, including me. Just look how many grey hairs I've got now. And I just think Special Tiara, at his age, it would be some ask to go and do it again. But putting my betting brain on, it is possible that this race could cut up significantly to a very small field, and so I can kind of see the angle. I know a few lads in the office are saying would easily kind of each way bet, because he will start half the price he is now. It's the only race he will run it at the Cheltenham Festival if he makes it. It's not like some of these who have got multiple entries, and so I can kind of see that angle, but I think it'd be a big ask at his age to see off all these challenges. But no, he's been a brilliant horse of connections, and he crucially does come right and often runs his best race at the Cheltenham Festival.
Yeah, I think I'd be in agreement with that, to be honest. I mean, as you say, he's certain to run in the race and he's sure to give his best. Rob, just remind us what price we can get on Special Tiara, because after this I might be going to jump on it.
Yeah, well, he's 14's obviously not under no bet with us, but you got to remember he's been placed the last 3 years, and we're 7-2 that he placed again. And as Ted said, there's doubts over 6 of the top 9 in the betting, so you could be talking 7 or 8 to 1 Special Tiara on the day. And we've said it, horses for courses. He loves the festival, and he wouldn't be the first horse to be placed again in a race that he's such a good record in.
Yep, well said. And Patrick, your thoughts on Special Tiara? You know, he might be struggling to win, but he makes these races, doesn't he? He goes out in front and you know exactly what he's going to do.
He's a wonderful horse. I mean, he won it last year and was placed 2 years before that. So who's to say he couldn't get into the top enclosure once again?
Yeah, okay. And we've spoke a lot about the British hopes, but there's a few that could end up there, possibly, maybe not likely. The likes of Waiting Patiently, they've said he's got the pace for 2 miles. He might not miss the festival altogether if it's not soft ground. Top Notch, again, he could be going to the Ryanair. Charbel, possibly. Or any others that anyone's got to add into that mix. Ed, I'll go to you first. What do you reckon? A bit of a muchness?
Yeah, well, no. I mean, I think Waiting Patiently is an absolute machine. I've tipped it for the King George earlier this week. I think the way he won it, Kempton over 2.5, he was going further clear at the end of that listed contest. I think 3 miles round Kempton to be his kind of race. If he goes anywhere at the Cheltenham Festival, I think it's going to be the Ryanair chase. Top Notch, I couldn't see running in this unless the ground came up heavy. Charbel's a funny old one. I would have liked to seen him run in Step Up and Trip to the Ryanair. I just think his jumping's coming under a little bit too much pressure at 2 miles now. But if you rewind the clock 12 months, as we touched upon earlier, it was the only horse who was at least giving Altior half a race in the Arkle last year, and Kim Bailey's got him at peak form. He could be in with a shout once again, but I'm scratching around, to be honest with you, with serious contenders. I think Waiting Patiently is a class horse, but I couldn't entertain him for the life of me for this race unless, as I said, the ground came up heavy.
Okay, Patrick, any thoughts on any of those or any others that you've got lurking away at your yard that we're yet to hear of that could race in this one? Have we lost anything? There we are. No worries.
Up there a bit, but I don't think I can't see anything coming from outside the ones you've discussed. To be honest, I think it's very rare to have a big outsider in the champion chase, and I think I can't see much outside the ones we've discussed already.
You've got plenty of talent to fire at the race anyway. I'm sure you'd be spoilt for choice if you had any more. Rob, any thoughts on targets for those that we've just mentioned? Do you reckon any of them are likely to turn up in the champion chase, or anything else you want to mention?
Well, the top notch is Ryanair bound. Charbel has been well beaten already this season. The only other horse, and maybe Patrick, the fact that he didn't mention him doesn't sound good, but Black Hercules was entered to run in the Kinloch Bray last week. He didn't run. He's in the betting for this. He might be a live springer if he was to line up.
Okay, Patrick, can you give us an update on Black Hercules at all? I mean, he won that JLT. Can you envisage him stepping down in trip, or is he more of a stayer?
We tried it before. He ran the Grade 1 2 mile in Leopardstown, and it didn't appear to work. So, and I think he's probably more of a 2.5 miler personally. He missed the Kinloch Bray, but it was something very small, and he should be out very, very soon.
Okay, fantastic. We're just going to take a quick advert here, and then we'll get the lads' ideas of their winners, their best each-way shouts, and their big race 1, 2, 3s.
Paddy Power are gearing up for Cheltenham and offering non-runner money back on all races at the Cheltenham 2018 Festival. Paddy Power, you beauty! Applies from midday on January the 9th. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Okay, welcome back to our final instalment of this Cheltenham Anti-Post Postcast. We're talking about the Queen Mother Champion Chase, of course. Now, we've got some quick-fire questions here. Rob, I'll go to you first. Who's your idea of the winner? And just give us a quick idea why at this stage.
Obviously, it's very difficult to know what's running, but we've seen York Hill. This appears to be his aim, and I think he's good enough to beat Altior. So York Hill. And again, if you're looking for a long shot, I suppose Special Tiara, because we know he's probably going to run. So just because of kneeling doubts with so many, Special Tiara to be placed again. Okay,
brilliant. Patrick, it's a very cruel question, I think, to ask you at this stage.
No pressure.
But we've got to do it. Who's your idea of the winner at this stage? And don't say Altior.
Look, I mean, I think if we get Duvan there, he'll be 100%. And if 100% Douvan gets there, I can't see anything beating him. But if he doesn't, I think York Hill has the track form. I think he has the ability, and I think if as long as everything goes well in Leopardstown next week, I think he could be the one.
Okay, that's brilliant. Interesting confidence there on Douvan. Hopefully, as you've said, Ted, he can just get there in one piece. That's the main thing. It'd be brilliant to see him. Your winner?
I'm sticking to my guns. Politolog in a race full of ifs and buts. He's the one horse who's doing it this season and at the highest level. And so, yeah, Politolog's my idea of the winner. Okay,
Rob, back to you quickly. Your best each way shout, would he be Special Tiara then?
I think it's got to be, because there's just so many doubts. Like, I'm a huge Great Field fan. He reminds me of Undersow as a novice, but it appears as though it might be a race against time for him to get to Cheltenham. So if he doesn't turn up, then Special Tiara.
Okay, brilliant. Patrick, would you have a best bet at this stage?
A best bet? If you could guess, Douvan, non-runner, no bet. He's for me, he's the one.
Okay, any each way selection, or do you just think it would be one of those races that if the quality gets there, it's going to rise to the top?
Each way, it's. The boys say Special Tiara he'll definitely run there, he'll go there, but he looks the obvious one for each way if you're playing it safe, yeah. Okay,
Patrick doesn't like to play it safe. What about you, Ed?
I'm going to stay with Politolog. I think it's a good chance that any two of the four of Douvan, Min, Altior and York Hills...
Well, they're not all going to run,
exactly, well, that's my point. I think it's a good chance at least half of those might not make it. And I think, what was Politolog, around 4-1, 9-2 or something? You could start half the price. It's a funny old race, but no, I'm going to stick with Politolog again. I take the point on Special Tiara. I don't particularly fancy it, but I can envisage it starting half the price it is now.
Okay, fantastic. Big race 1, 2, 3, Ed.
Oh, here we go again. This will be fun. Right, we're going to go Politolog number 1, York Hill 2, Altior 3.
I like that. Patrick, big race 1, 2, 3.
Oh, well, in an ideal world...
I was assuming Douvan didn't turn up, that was.
Well, we'll go maybe Douvan. If they all turn up, Douvan, Altior, and maybe Special Tiara to be third then.
Okay, nicely done. And Rob?
Yeah, I'll go with York Hill, Altior and Special Tiara.
Thank you very much. That just about does us for this Cheltenham Anti-Post Postcast. Thanks for joining us. Remember to watch Friday's Postcast, the tipping Postcast, of course. And don't forget to rate and subscribe to the Postcast on iTunes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you then.
Paddy Power are gearing up for Cheltenham and offering non-runner money back on all races at the Cheltenham 2018 Festival. Paddy Power, you beauty! Applies from midday on January the 9th. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.